You know, it is not often that we get great news in the world of politics, but this week delivered some exceptionally refreshing stories, starting with a stunning defeat of so-called squad member and radical Jew hater Jamal Bowman. That happened, yeah. Bye-bye, Jamal. That was in a New York congressional primary. You remember Bowman, defeated by another Democrat, but at least one who used his brains for something other than mush to keep his skull from collapsing. Unlike Bowman. George Latimer's the guy who won, and he defeated Bowman overwhelmingly, almost 20-point spread. You may recall that the anti-Semite Bowman is a current member of Congress who is mostly known for his only significant achievement in Congress, which was pulling a fire alarm in the House in order to prevent a vote on the House floor. Now, he should have known that setting off a false fire alarm, of course, is a crime. Bowman initially lied and said he didn't do it. But when the surveillance video showed that he did, then he tried to explain that it was an accident, which made him look even dumber. Because every human being with an IQ above a bag of bell peppers knows what a fire alarm is, and one didn't just go up to one accidentally to the wall and pull the lever on it. But of course, five-alarm Bowman was barely reprimanded and continued to serve in Congress even after that. What he did really did impede the work of Congress and could be considered an act of insurrection. But he didn't have to rot in a jail for 3 years before he was even given a court date for his crime, like those January 6 insurrectionists. Nope. Liz Cheney didn't even demand any consequences. So finally, the voters of New York had enough of his foul-mouthed, Jew-hating tirades, and they did what the other members of Congress didn't have the guts to do. They sent him home packing. Yeah. In the words of my former pastor, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Goodbye and good riddance, Jamal. By the way, rumor has it that Jamal Bowman is hoping to get a job with the New York Fire Department inspecting fire alarms. Well, let's hope voters in some other states get fed up with people who hate Israel, hate Jews, and hate America. Because nobody, and I mean nobody, ought to serve in the Congress of a nation that they believe to be a country of racists, bigots, homophobes, transphobes, and xenophobes. I mean, it would be delightful if we could soon apply the term former congressman to Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush, AOC, and Ilhan Omar, just to name a few. Well, some other good news. A few weeks ago, we had Andrew Bailey, the Missouri Attorney General, here on our couch. And this week, he won a huge federal court case that said, yet again, that President Biden can't just unilaterally forgive student loan debt in order to buy votes. Not only does a president not have the legal ability just to use other people's money for his own election bribes, but it's just plain wrong to tell people, you know, the ones who work as your plumber, electrician, HVAC technician, finish carpenter, or welder, that they need to take money from their paychecks and give it to a doctor, a lawyer, or a banker who went to college but never paid back the loans that they willingly took out and agreed to pay back. Just shouldn't be that way. By the way, a couple of weeks ago, we had Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry. Really proud of him. He just signed a bill that requires the posting of the 10 Commandments in every school in Louisiana. Good for him. And of course, naturally, the America haters and the far-left lunatics went berserk, so afraid that little children might see the same words in their classroom that are on the walls of the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, there are positive signs that the American people have had enough of the insanity infecting our nation worse than COVID ever did. And now people are starting to push back against foolish claims that biological men should be able to just announce they're really women and then go and compete against biological women in sports. Folks, that's not open-mindedness. It's not tolerance. It's irrational nonsense, and it's dangerous to a sane and civilized people. Letting men pretend to be women because on their own they just aren't good enough to compete, that's not fairness. It's fantasy and foolishness, and those who do it They're cheaters and cowards. Look, I'm still concerned about our country, but there are some signs that Americans are waking up from a deep sleep and no longer are willing to be played for chumps. But it's not enough to be fed up, not enough even to speak up. We got to vote, and we got to get this country on truly the right side of history. Well, we do have a great show lined up for you tonight. Next, I'm going to be joined by South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. We're going to break down the presidential debate from Thursday. But right now, Keith Bilbrey, I know you'd love to tell us all who's going to be on the rest of the show.
Well, later, the world's most famous bounty hunter is laying down the justice. Then a heartwarming patriotic performance by Coffee Anderson. All that and more on Huckabee.
Welcome back. Senator Tim Scott is someone who has stood on the debate stage in this election season as a candidate for the GOP primary. He joins me to assess this week's debate between President Trump and President Biden. Please welcome Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. Senator, what did you see and what did you feel?
Well, Governor, it was an amazing night for Donald Trump, the most dominant performance I've ever seen. A greater contrast cannot be found anywhere in all of politics. Donald Trump was a disciplined world leader. He is prepared to lead the free world. Joe Biden, feckless leader, frozen leader, lost. I got to tell you, Governor, I was stunned by how poor of a performance Joe Biden delivered, and I was elated at how incredibly strong and disciplined Donald Trump was throughout the entire debate. When it came to the issues, there's no doubt 4 more years of Donald Trump is in America's best interest. The poorest Americans saw their incomes go up faster, and Donald Trump took the time to share the success of his administration. The more time we understand the success of Donald Trump, the better off we will be on November the 5th. That is our day of reckoning. It's a day that we restore hope and create opportunities for all Americans throughout this incredible country.
You know, Senator, it was not just a contrast of style, it was a contrast of substance. But in the post moments following the debate and since that time, there's been a complete meltdown among Democrats, not Republicans, but Democrats who now say Joe Biden is not prepared. Forget about talking 4 more years. He can't go 4 more weeks. And so it is just disaster. I want to play a little clip and let you react to it. This is one of the moments from the debate in which it appears early on in the debate, Joe Biden was completely lost.
Elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
I mean, Senator, that was painful to watch. Joe Biden got lost in his thoughts, and he closed with just mumbling answer of, I beat Medicare. Donald Trump had a brilliant reaction to that. I'm sure you were in Atlanta with the president, so you saw a lot of the reaction of the people with the president. When that happened, what did people in the room do? How did they react to that?
It was almost like the gasp, like you cannot believe that this is live TV watching the current president of the United States implode on national television. Democrats are scrambling without any question. The media was deflated, Mike, without any question. I saw real time that the national media seems to be an extension of the Democrat Party. They were deflated. Walking around the spin room, it was cold as ice for one reason. Their person, Joe Biden, laid an egg. Simple. He was like a goose lost in a rainstorm, a deer caught in the headlights. I cannot think of a more profound impact of any debate in my lifetime than last night. But at the same time, it wasn't simply the failure of Joe Biden. It was the success of Donald Trump. Donald Trump was presidential. He was disciplined. He focused on the American people. He focused on vulnerable communities throughout this country. But he united the country. He said it before, and I'll say it now. Success begets success. It's one of the reasons why 4 more years of Donald Trump is 4 more years of success for the American people, low unemployment, low inflation, and high enthusiasm for our people.
I do think, Senator, that there was one great moment in the debate for Joe Biden, and that's after it was over, he went to Waffle House. That was the best thing that he did in the entire evening, was to go to a place you and I are both quite familiar with and have a deep affection for, the great Southern staple Waffle House. But other than that, I mean, it was just a bad night for him. But that aside, I thought President Trump did a superb job of never taking the bait when Joe was trying so hard to goad him into getting angry and reacting, and it just never worked. President Trump maintained a presidential stature.
Well, Governor, you're 100% right. The only problem with him going to a Waffle House last night, by the way, is he thought he was in North Carolina and not in Georgia at that Waffle House. But I will say without any question that our candidate, Donald Trump, was fantastic. Disciplined, staying focused, talking about the issues. Actually, even saying at the end, we ought not be talking about golf. This is a waste of time. The microphones didn't catch it, but if you rewatch that part of the debate, it was clear President Trump wanted to talk about America's future, not golf. And that's the kind of performance we as conservatives can be proud of. Frankly, as Americans, we can be proud of that. Governor, let me just say this one point. The big loser last night was America. We lost as a nation when the world saw the President of the United States lost in the middle of the debate. We lost last night when the world, our adversaries, said, this is a paper tiger, and our allies were trembling. We need Donald Trump right now. You're right. We can't take 4 more months, much less 4 more years of this failed leadership.
You make a great point there, and that is that we weren't the only ones watching. Our adversaries around the world were watching last night, and what they saw must have given them a sense of delight, glee, and thinking, now's our moment. And also, God help us if Donald Trump gets back in the White House, because it's going to be nothing like this. Let's take a look at this clip. This is another one where President Biden seems completely lost. And then Donald Trump's reaction might have been the moment of the night.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
I mean, that was just classic. That was almost up there with Ronald Reagan's line of, I'm not going to make age a matter in this and exploit my opponent's youth, when he did that to Mondale. But that, I thought, summed up the contrast last night. I want to mention this. You and I have both been on numerous presidential debate stages. There is a problem when people are over-prepared. They have a room full of people who pound them with all this information.
Yes.
Joe seemed like he had so many people screaming in his head for weeks, and then suddenly he's on that stage, but he can't call up all the stuff that's there. And that's what it appeared like, that he cognitively was not in control. What was your reaction to just that sense that he did not have a clear game plan going up on that stage?
Well, Governor, it's very clear to me that 7 days at Camp David were 7 wasted days. If he spent 7 days preparing for last night, the entire camp should be ashamed of themselves. It was a terrible, dismal performance for the President of the United States. But once again, it was a bad night for America when the world saw how bad he is. Number two, his lucidity is not my concern. Certainly, we can have a long conversation about is there any there. But more importantly, from my perspective, if you replace Biden, you're going to have another dyed-in-the-wool liberal who believes that stepping towards socialism is somehow in America's best interest. You're going to have another person who simply says that inflation was 9% in January of 2021, telling the lie that it never was. It was 1.4% coming out of the Trump administration. We need to realize that the problem of the Democrats is not simply Joe Biden. It's the philosophy that undergirds the direction they want to take our country. And it doesn't matter who the candidate is. Joe Biden and the Democrats have sold out to liberalism and to elites on the left that will be devastating, having devastating impact on the rest of the country.
I think that was a point well made. Even if Joe's not the nominee, whoever the Democrat is, the policies will be just as bad. Senator, great to have you with me. Thank you so much. I hope that we'll continue to see a great momentum moving this country forward. And I keep up with the latest news from Senator Tim Scott. Just visit his guest page that we will connect you to at Huckabee.tv. Keith Bilbrey, there is no debate about who's coming up on our show. We're going to let you tell us all about it.
Coming up next, Dog the Bounty Hunter talks about his 9 lives and the journey of faith that's carried him through. Then, get ready to laugh with Rich Little and Rich Natoli on Huckabee.
And welcome back, everybody. You know, I almost put on a white suit and went out and did my best impression of John Travolta as they were playing from the Bee Gees song, Stayin' Alive. But I didn't want to show up the band because, quite frankly, you can't show up this band. They're the best there is, and nothing will ever show them up. Trey Corley and the Music City Connection. Let's give them a big hand. Well, our next guest is known as Dog the Bounty Hunter, and he's a renowned crime fighter and one of the most popular reality TV shows and stars of all time. He's also one of the busiest. He's launching a new TV show and podcast. He operates the Light Up the Darkness ministry with his wife, Francie, and he's just released his 3rd best-selling book, and it is a page-turner. It's called 9 Lives and Counting, A Bounty Hunter's Journey to Faith, Hope, and Redemption. An amazing story and an amazing guy. Please welcome Duane Lee Chapman. We know him as Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Thank you.
You got a lot of fans here already. How about that?
Oh, thank you very much. Aloha. Oh, because I'm on your show.
You know what? Your book totally, just caught me off guard because I was not expecting the story to be as powerful of the spiritual journey that you have had in the last few years. It's truly an amazing story and an incredibly well-written book. And thank you for coming to talk about it.
Thank you. Well, I had supervision writing the book from my ghost writer and my wife, Francie, so.
Well, they did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, they did a good job. Maybe you boogered it up. I don't know, but they did well. I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
You know, I've always thought when I met you, I just prayed that it wouldn't be at my door.
Yeah, no.
Because if Dog the Bounty Hunter shows up at my door, I know I'm in real trouble. I'm headed out the back. Let me tell you, one of the first things I was just taken by in the story, as a little kid, you had an extraordinary aversion to death. And you rewrote the Humpty Dumpty story as a child in elementary school because you didn't like the way it ended.
Yes, sir.
That's a true story.
I got booted out of school for doing it.
But you had Humpty Dumpty actually getting put back together again instead of being a scrambled egg.
Sat on the wall, had a great fall. Humpty, all the king's horses and all the king's men, put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And she said, you can't do that. Sent me home. My dad spanked me, and I got thrown out of school for 2 days.
You know, but I kind of like your version better. I mean, the little kid is traumatized by the Humpty Dumpty. He's permanently gone, you know, and big cracked egg. He turns into an omelet for the rest of the world. But, you know, that was just the beginning of what it was for you, an extraordinary journey. As a kid, you went to church.
Yes,
you
sir.
were schooled in church stuff.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Most of us don't know that part of your life. We know that part in the middle, and some of that wasn't as pretty.
No, you know, I thought God was, my father, I don't want to accuse, but, you know, abused me physically very, very hard, very, very much, all the time. And so I, at about 13, started running away, and authority I just couldn't stand. And so then at 15, I joined which I had ID that I was a 18-year-old. I joined the Devil's Disciples, which was a sister club to the Hells Angels. And then moved to Texas. And in 76, 3 of us pulled up, 1 went inside, there was a shooting, and I was charged, all of us disciples, with first-degree murder. So I got out on bond for a year, and I told the Lord, man, you know, I should have listened. I thought you were busy in Vietnam. And he wasn't. He was watching me. And so we went to trial. I thought this is good. I didn't even go in the house. The jury came back with all of us guilty, because allegedly, you know how the news is, all these laws all of a sudden, allegedly, if you were there and didn't call the police, you were just as guilty. So then I got put in prison. I became inmate warden's barber. God blessed me, walked next to me. And then I became inmate counselor. On my show, they always say, Dog, how did you know about the backseat ride?
Yeah.
And I say, well, I talked to those prisoners when their mothers would die or they got really disappointed. I was the one the warden had go talk to them. And then became a bounty hunter, ran a guy down because I didn't want him to get killed. And I got out in February the 6th, 1979. I had a 5-year plus 1 day sentence. And I talked to the biggest warden, Warden Jacka, told him what happened. And after he found out I was telling the truth, he said, well, you know, I can override any judge, dog. And he said, I want you to go be something. And from that date on, I said, you know what? I'm going to be the greatest bounty hunter in the world. And then still, my walk with God, I wasn't lukewarm. Well, I guess I was. And I wasn't, and then Beth passed away 5 years ago, 2 days ago. And so I pulled the car over one day and said, Lord God, please, I don't want to go back to the Hells Angels. I don't want to do this, but I can't even find my car coming out of Safeway. You know, I've been married since I was 15. I need a mate.
You were crushed when Beth died.
Oh, yeah.
And you so, I think, graphically but beautifully talked about how when she was taken from you from cancer, I mean, it was just like you thought that was the end. There's no more future.
Oh,
Something then amazing happened. And I found that the story of how you met Francie, that is
Isn't that
worth,
incredible?
That's worth the book right there.
Thank you. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like something that somebody would write in a movie, but nobody would believe.
Well, and these guys, this book, you know that publishing company, they've verified every story. Texas, when we sent Texas back and forth, and you know, I pulled that card and said, Lord, I don't want to go back, but I need to serve you. And I want a woman, I don't care what tribe she's from, because I'm 33% Apache. I said, but you know, I had a little chunky one. Can I please have a tall, skinny girl? And she's, is that wrong to say?
You just said it, it's not wrong. No, I love it. I love your candor. That's what I think everybody loves about you. I really do.
Thank you very much. So we met, and then a year later, she's a rancher. Who thought I'd love a rancher? I love animals. She shoots them and eats them. Yeah, I'm telling you, bro. She's, you know, I'd have never, and let me tell you something, man. I love her so much. And I told her, you know, I'll never make a mistake. She told me the other day, well, if you do, I'm 56 years old right now, honey. and a life sentence don't mean that much to me, and I'll go inside that prison for murder and preach the gospel. So she does scare me also.
Well, Dog, I want to tell you, it is a beautiful story. It is
Thank
one
you.
of hope. Obviously, the subtitle of the book is about faith, hope, and redemption, but
Yes.
it really is a great story. And
Thank you.
You're one of the most well-known people in the world. Everybody
Thank
knows who
you.
Dog the Bounty Hunter is. What they don't know is this story.
Well, look, can I sum it up real quick?
Yeah.
So this is my new slogan. One of my favorite stories is when Jesus died on the cross with the 2 felons.
Yeah,
And Jesus was also convicted of a felony.
yeah.
And one said, you know the story too, if you're the Son of God, you'll get off this cross. And the other one said, listen, I know you're the Son of God. And Jesus said, tonight, brah, you will be with me and my daddy in heaven.
Yeah.
So the last thing Jesus did, and we're supposed to follow the steps of Jesus as much as we can, the last thing he did was take a felon with him to heaven. So I'm going to take as many felons as I can with me to heaven.
That's wonderful. Dog, an honor to have you here.
Yes, sir.
The book, it's called 9 Lives and Counting, A Bounty Hunter's Journey to Faith, Hope, and Redemption. It's a must-read. And if you go to Huckabee.tv, you'll find a link to get your copy and to keep up with Duane Chapman. We know him as Dog the Bounty Hunter. Now, we're going to be right back. And by the way, Dog's going to be back with us a little later. But speaking of hunting, Keith Bilbrey has hunted up something very special to tell you about that's coming up in the show.
Yes, I have. After the break, Rich Little and Rich Natoli bring back some of the biggest presidents and celebrities that will have you cracking up. Don't go away. Go to Huckabee.tv and get your very own made in the USA Huckabee mugs, t-shirts, and more.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, after tonight, I can honestly say we will have had about every celebrity on earth on this show. My next guests include the king of celebrity impressionists, Rich Little. And tonight, he's been with us more than any other guest we've had. We absolutely love Rich Little at this show. And tonight he's going to be joined by fellow Las Vegas impressionist Rich Natoli, who's star of the show Voices of a Generation, presenting the ultimate presidential press conference. Would you please welcome Rich Little and Rich Natoli?
Thank you.
Well, this is actor Robert Wagner. That's right. I have a question for President Ronald Reagan. Mr. President, when would you declare a person legally dead? When the heart stops beating or when the brain stops functioning?
Oh, well, I would have to say when the heart stops beating. Good Lord, if you determine it by the brain stops functioning, you would wipe out half the Senate.
And Mr. President, one more question. What do you think about women astronauts?
Well, I think it's great for the country because if the crew ever got lost in space, at least a woman would ask for directions.
Well, this is Clint Eastwood. I'm not sure if I had 6 questions or only 5. So I'm just going to ask one. My question is for President Nixon. Can you tell us about your childhood?
Well, when I was a little liar growing up in Whittier, California, Nobody liked me. I was a loser. I really was. I never did anything right. I used to wet my thumb and suck my bed. But I was never a boozer, though. I was never into liquor, never. Well, a couple of drinks that I did indulge in. A subpoena colada, I drank one of those. And an impeachment brandy.
And next we go to President Jimmy Carter. Well, this is Mr. Haney from Green Acres. And I have a few genuine questions for President Carter. President Carter, what do you like about President Joe Biden?
He makes me look good.
And what do you like about Vice President Kamala Harris?
He makes Joe Biden look good. That was funny. I wrote that myself.
And Mr. President, do you think Joe Biden's presidency is picking up speed?
Oh, of course. Things always pick up speed when they're going downhill.
Well, this is Bob Hope, and I want to tell you, I've known every president on this stage. Isn't that something? I want to tell you, my favorite was George Bush Sr. Isn't it true, Mr. President, that you love to fly? In fact, you parachuted out of a plane 30 years ago.
Okay, gotcha. That's a good question. Good to see you, And that's true, you know. And I was scared to death. I really was. I was terrified, you know. There I was up in the plane. I didn't know what the heck to do, you know. And I turned to the pilot, and I said to the pilot, I said, well, what am I going to do? He said, well, Mr. President, you put on the parachute, right? Okay. Then you jump out of the plane, and then you wait for a bit, and then when you're 20 feet before the ground, you know, you pull the cord. So that's the way to do it.
20 feet? 20 feet from the ground?
Yeah, 20 feet. That way you don't have far to fall.
Well, this is Jay Leno here, and my question is for President Clinton. President Clinton, what do you attribute your long marriage to Hillary to?
Well, every week, we would go to the same restaurant every week. Hillary would go Mondays and Wednesdays, and I would go Thursdays and Fridays.
Well, this is Donald J. Trump, and I'm right here. First of all, Joe, how's your campaign going?
My name is, hey, you chumps out there. Hey, man. My name is oh, God. Joe Biden, that's my name. You know, President Harris and myself are doing an outstanding job as president and first lady. Senator, whatever it is. We're doing the work right now of 7 people. Grumpy, dopey, sleepy.
back over here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Okay.
There they are. All right, I got to tell you, my wife and I went to Vegas to see Rich Little. It was fabulous, one of the best shows we have ever seen. To get tickets to his show and autobiography Little by Little and to book Rich Natoli and learn more about his new movie, Faith Wins, go to Huckabee.tv. We'll get you connected. You'll want to be. Thank you guys for being here. We're so excited to have you. First time you've done this together, isn't it?
Yes.
It won't be the last.
I'm working on your voice now.
There you go.
I'm going to get the governor down.
There you go.
I'm working on it.
And we'll have him back when he
Governor,
does.
I'm having trouble sleeping. I don't know what to do.
I can help you with that.
Okay.
But
well,
right
I've
now,
been listening
let me
to
tell
Joe
you,
Biden's speeches.
Keith Bilbrey is going to do his best announcer impression. He'll tell us what's coming up next. Go ahead, Keith.
Stop laughing. Well, when we come back, we're joined by Coffee Anderson, plus some of the craziest songs you've ever heard. Are they real? Stay tuned to find out. Huckabee next week for Dr. Stanley K. Wrigley and Chef Andre Rush.
All right. Hey, you might recognize tonight's musical guest from Country Ever After on Netflix, or maybe his breakout hit song, Mr. Red, White, and Blue. But right now, put your hands together and give a big old Nashville welcome to one of the best country entertainers in the business, Coffee Anderson. You have one of the most remarkable stories in the music business because you didn't go the normal route of waiting around, getting signed by some company that would tell you what to sing and how to sing it and where to go. You decided to do it your own way.
I did. I actually came to Nashville and I saw that they were recording in demo houses for songwriters, and they weren't charging what a lot of producers did. So I borrowed some money from a buddy of mine that was playing Major League Baseball at the time, and came in and just brought some songs, and lightning struck, and God's good.
You performed at the Grand Ole Opry and got not one, not two, but 3 standing ovations.
I did.
That just does not happen. People do not get that kind of response.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
So rather than sell your soul to a typical music company and they tell you what you got to do, you've done this independently. You've gone through putting your stuff online, letting people stream it, getting it on Spotify, and yet you've had millions and millions of views. Most people would say, how did you pull that off?
Well, I think a lot of hard work. I saw my school teaching mom and my law enforcement dad get up every day and go to work. I put the same work ethic into the music business because people think it's art. A lot of times they don't want to put the effort into it. And that's never been me. And I think the other side of it is I want to write music that we're not New York, we're not LA, but there's a whole lot of people living in between that would resonate with the songs I've done.
Well, one of them, Mr. Red, White, and Blue, which I think you're going to do for us tonight.
I am going to sing it tonight, yes, sir.
You sang that song for the families of 9 of the 13 service people who were killed, left behind in Afghanistan. It was a horrible situation when we pulled out and those 13 were killed. And you offered to go at your own expense to sing at the funerals, and 9 of those families asked you to do that.
Yeah, when I saw it happen, I popped open my phone, I jumped on TikTok, and I said, anyone that knows these families, we want you to remember that you're loved, you're prayed for, you're thought of, you're not forgotten. I'm going to offer to sing Mr. Red, White, and Blue and Amazing Grace at the services if you'll allow me. And if you know any of these families, message me, DM, call, send me emails. And we had 20,000 people contact in 24 hours. And so we even had people donate so I could get on flights. We had one of the oil boys out of West Texas give me his plane. We landed on a cornfield in Indiana. Myself and Mike Pence
Yeah.
were able to go to that service, and I was able to sing. And none of those families said yes. And I think we have to be our brothers and sisters keepers right now with the climate in the United States. We can love each other to life. We just have to do it.
But what a great gesture of love and patriotism on your part to do that for people that you didn't know, but you knew what they had done to serve your own freedom, my freedom, all of our freedom.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to say on behalf of the American people, thank you for being an expression of how many of us felt.
Thank you.
Well, we want you to stay with us for a while, because while we have you here, we thought we'd have a little fun. And we're going to play a game. We've only done it once before.
Come on.
And here it is. It's called Law or Naw.
I've seen this.
Yeah, and it's fun. And I think we ought to bring Dog back to play with us as well. So would you welcome back Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Good to see you.
Now, I'm going to give you both one of these paddles. One side says law, the other side says naw.
All right.
So here's how this whole game works. It's not complicated. Trey even understands it. That's how simple this game is. I read a law, and you have to guess by holding up the paddle, law or naw, whether you think that it really is a law, or you hold up naw if you think we just made this up.
Okay.
Now, Keith and Trey and the band, and by the way, every one of the audience has one of these paddles. And they're all going to play with us. So the whole bunch of us, we're all going to play. Are you ready? All right, let's get this show on the road. In California, it is illegal to whistle for a lost canary before 7 a.m. in the morning. Is this a law or is it a naw? Let's see. Put your paddles up.
Absolutely.
We have a split decision here. Dog says naw. Coffee says law.
I'm going to say law, yeah.
Yeah, we've got a lot of red and both green. This is not a unanimous decision.
What state is it? I'm sorry.
California.
Oh.
Well, hey, good move, Dog, because it is a law. Yeah. The city of Berkeley, that's no surprise, they don't allow anyone to whistle for their lost canary before 7 a.m. There you go. All right, question number 2. In Kentucky, it is illegal to marry the same man 4 times. Law or naw? Let's see what we said. Got a lot of naws on this and a lot of red paddles going up. Okay, here's the answer. That is a law in Kentucky. I'm pointing to Lori. She's from Kentucky. I just had to. No, it is true that you cannot marry the same person more than 3 times in the state of Kentucky. For those of you that were thinking about marrying somebody for the 4th time in Kentucky, don't do it.
Can't do it.
All right, let's go to New Jersey. It is illegal to wear a bulletproof vest while committing a crime.
Oh.
Law or no? Here we go. Let's see. A lot more green on this one.
New Jersey? No.
It is New Jersey now. That is a law.
Yeah.
Because wearing a bulletproof vest during the commission or attempted commission of a crime is prohibited. We should say strictly prohibited. Individuals who break this law may face additional charges specifically for that. You would have known that, wouldn't you?
I was kind of cheated because Snoop Dogg got in trouble for that.
Is that right? Yeah. That other dog that's not nearly as nice as you. Yeah.
He's doubled.
That other dog.
Dog in the name.
All right, here's the next one. In Texas, it is illegal to own more than 6 cats per household. Is that a law or a no? Let's see what we think. Hold up your Texas. Everybody.
I'm from Texas.
Got a split decision. Coffee, you should know this, man. You're from Texas.
We had a bunch of cats.
All right, here's the answer. This is a no. Yeah. Because in Texas, you can have as many cats as you would like in your household. As long as you take care of them, of course. So, all of you cat ladies out there, Texas may be where you need to go.
Come on to Texas.
There you go.
Come on.
All right, here's our last one. In New Mexico, it is illegal for idiots to vote. Law or no? Hold up your paddles.
Before Susan Martinez or Miss Martinez the governor, or after?
Right now, is it?
Ooh.
They can be governor, they just can't vote.
All right, here's the fact. That's a law.
Oh, stop.
It is. Because in New Mexico, a law says that idiots, insane people, and felons are banned from voting in New Mexico. And that is the language of the law, idiots. If that were a language for Congress in Washington, we would never have another congressional vote in the country. That would be it. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider clicking the subscribe button below and the notification bell next to it so you don't miss any of our future videos when they go up online.